You've got to shoot this bit, Margaret. You've got to shoot it.
So hi and welcome to this week's episode of the Whiteout Podcast. I'm Dom, publisher at In the Snow, and I'm here with our co-host, Rob Stewart, ski extraordinaire, ski instructor, ski tester, head of the ski team this year for the In the Snow ski team out of the test. Rob Stewart, how are you?
Yeah. I'm good, Dom.
You love an intro.
Thanks for that. I do love an intro. Well, I'm getting used to these intros now. I mean, the first time, you gave me this trumped up intro, I was sort of a bit taken aback, but now I'm just used to them now. I want more, actually. Come on, give it to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm enjoying them.
That's it.
Yeah, winter is back, right? So we thought we'd better do another podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We've got a packed out episode though. Lots of news still to talk about.
Yeah.
Our normal gear reviews, and of course your snow report, and our usual top trumps, which I'm looking forward to today, especially.
Yeah, too right, Rob. I mean, certainly days have turned into weeks in this crazy busy industry. We've had droughts of snow. We've had piles of snow. We've got people complaining about too much snow. And I've been getting emails asking, when's the next podcast coming out? What have you got for us? I didn't realize how popular we were. Well, I think probably mainly me, but
I mean, obviously listeners are only interested in you, Dom, obviously. Of course.
We know that.
Of course. No, I tell you what, I've never complained about too much snow. And
no.
Quick random story. Once, many years ago, in Verbier, it snowed so much that people couldn't open their doors because the snow had piled on the chalet roofs and literally the wood had sort of stuck together and they couldn't open their doors. And people were complaining about too much snow at that time, but it was good for me because I got paid to go up on roofs and clear snow for days on end. It sort of set me up for the beginning of the season. That was great. So I wasn't complaining about snow.
Those are the days, eh?
I suppose they were. But it has
plenty of snow at the moment. There's some good
snow. There is.
We'll hear about that.
And it's been an incredible season when you think about it. I mean, not one for the snow records here in Europe, but equally nobody came out to ski that didn't actually go skiing, right? I mean, we've got to remember that. The first full winter season. Okay, we're not quite there yet, but since 2018, right? Yeah. Because of the C word, which is amazing to think, really. Lots of successful ski racing competitions taking place across the world.
Yeah.
Brits doing incredibly well in those in many competitions, which is fantastic to see. Tour operator bookings looking really healthy, especially at the beginning of the winter. And maybe the nicest thing of all is being welcomed back on the slopes again as a Brit, right? Okay, I know they really only want us for our money.
Our booze spending, I'm sure, booze and food.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, it's nice to be wanted, right? Even if it's only for the money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has been incredible. It's despite the massive interruptions, the financial crisis, COVID, the hit on people's pockets at the moment, that still bookings are up, and there seems to be good reports from tour operators of demand being high. Resorts are busy. And the ski world continues to spin despite all of its challenges. And there's a bunch of anticipated snow at the moment, and it's looking like that's going to compound demand because, as soon as people see more snow coming, which there is at the minute, everybody's going to want to go skiing.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, obviously, we've got a few challenges as an industry as well. Longer term snow reliability, we know that could be a challenge. Will be a challenge. Making travel more sustainable. At the end of the day, when you look at the data of carbon footprints of skiers, a huge percentage of that, between 60 and 90% of that is within the travel side of things, not within the skiing itself. Right.
Yeah.
So making travel more sustainable, ensuring skiing in the mountains remain financially reachable for a large amount of people. This is a big challenge for us right now, and for skiing not to become that kind of, it's already got the image, right? Of it's a rich person sport, and we don't want that image to become complete reality, and also, safety on the slopes. This has been highlighted this winter, and because that it's something that we've really got to consider, and people have to take responsibility, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes I think we forget the privilege of being on this amazing mountain, normally full of snow, normally, and being able to travel down on some wooden planks, right? It's amazing, and I think most people that go skiing do appreciate that. They do, and we mustn't forget it. Yeah. That's me off my soapbox.
Absolutely agree to that, Rob. We are in a very lucky position indeed in every case, and especially us Brits, because having it right on our doorstep in Europe, it makes you realise how incredibly lucky we are to skip across the water there and have such a plethora of fabulous world class leading resorts right on our doorstep is incredible.
It is
very lucky.
So on that note, Dom, I think you have an exciting snow report to give us this week.
Well, certainly a snow report that I've been scrabbling away trying to change every 30 seconds of the day up until recording this podcast. But I'm going to call it Where is Good to Ski Right Now, which comes straight out of inthesnow.com, where we do a regular update on snow conditions, because trying to forecast at the moment is being particularly tricky. But let's see how this goes. It's probably been one of the snowiest weeks of the season so far in parts of the Alps, with some big weekend accumulations on higher slopes. The snow is falling right now, which is all good. Most, but if not all, parts of the Alps have seen fresh snow over the last 24 hours, and it's still snowing across many regions today, especially in the northwest, like the Grand Massif, Porte du Soleil, Jungfrau, Engelberg, Arlberg, where the rain snow limit is around 900 to 1,300 metres. And by the end of today, obviously this podcast will go out in a couple of days. So this is Wednesday. The likes of Chamonix could well see 36 hours of snow of between 40 and 60 centimetres. That's a couple of feet to you and me, Rob, above 2,000 metres. So I am becoming ambidextrous on that front, actually. I'm quite impressing myself.
Are you?
Yeah.
I've got to be honest. I think more in metres these days, I'm afraid to say.
Yes, you're a convert. You're a convert. So flurries will continue to relatively slow levels in some northeastern areas tomorrow, mostly in Austria. Otherwise, most regions will be dry and the best of any sunshine the further south and west that you are. And then later this week, it will be mostly fine across all alpine regions, with increasingly mild temperatures and a moderate front developing across some of central and northern parts. We have seen, just to cover a little bit, so that's more along the sort of forecast front of what we're expecting. Just for people who are heading out, there has been great snow in the last week, 10 days. There has been some rain at lower levels. So we've seen reports of people arriving in resort to rain at the lower levels, which it sometimes is often to be expected. Temperatures haven't been as cold as they'd like them to be. So while it's snowing up the hill, it's potentially raining slightly down slope. But on the plus side for skiing, depths have been increasing over the last week or two. There has been quite a bit of a drought of snow across the Alps, so this is a welcome break in the forecast, and seeing some snow back on the hills is great news. And some of those high up resorts are showing some really big depths, and some great photos coming out of the likes of Val d'Isère and Tignes and all those big high up resorts and Kitzbühel and places like that. So that's really encouraging to see. Elsewhere go on, what were you going to say, Rob?
No, I was just going to say, it's often the way that in March we get hit by the snowfall in the Alps now, and people often say to me, "Oh, can you ski in March?" And it's like, actually, it's normally pretty much like the best month of the season in terms of snowfall, and we've come to expect this to happen. And of course, the lower slopes can start to deteriorate a little bit, especially towards the end of the month and into April. But it's great to see that.
Yeah, absolutely,
it's great to see.
And then elsewhere in Europe, good snow conditions continue in Scandinavia. The Scottish ski areas have had a little bit of a boost with some cold weather and a little bit of snowfall, although more is needed still to really allow the resorts to reopen terrain. And on the southern side of the continent, Pyrenees and the Balkans have seen less fresh snowfall than further north, but remain in pretty good shape. So overall, it's relatively mixed news for Austrian ski areas, although we have had this recent dump that's covered a lot of the Alps. But Most have seen a bit of a boost in their snow depths, some including Kitzbühel reporting rain in the resorts on those lower slopes, as we discussed earlier. But high up, it's still looking good. Solden has been posting some pretty deep snow conditions up the top there. And Kaunertal, the Tyrolean glaciers, joining in the 2 meter club. So they've got, bundles of snow up top. So they're accumulating some good snow depths. What else have we got? After missing out on snow showers for the best part of a couple of months, as we talked about, the French resorts, they have seen some better snow over the last sort of week to 10 days. And over these next 48 hours, they're seeing a good dump. So that's really helped them, which is really, really good news for a lot of our counterparts in this industry. So that's good to see. Italy's seen some decent snowfalls for the last week. The likes of Cervinia looking pretty good. Still another couple of months of the season still to run there, so that's pretty good. Less snow towards the further east in the Dolomites, but less stormy weather. Everything's open there, and it's still looking fine. Obviously, it could always be better there.
What about the Pyrenees? Because I'm aware that right now the World Cup finals are on in Andorra. In fact, we're missing the downhill racing as we speak. It's live right now, actually. But what's it like over there? Is it
the Pyrenees? They got the best of the snowfall in mainland Europe in late February and early March, but has seen some more spring-like weather and fewer snowfalls over the last week or so. Strong winds have been an issue at times, closing some of the higher slopes. Solju hosts the big World Cup finals, as you just mentioned. And the biggest in the Pyrenees reports 95% of the slopes are open, but the weather's not perfect. But, when is the weather ever perfect? Let's face it, if you go to Spain on your holiday, the weather's not perfect, is it? So, there's always going to be either going to be too much, too little, too cloudy, too sunny. There's always going to be something to moan about.
We do have weather. That is true.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, especially when you're a Brit, we always moan about the weather. What else have we got? Scotland, we've talked about big snow in the US this week. Seeing massive snowstorms moving in from the Pacific, as they have generally several times a week for pretty much 3 or 4 months now. They have got some massive snow depths, 12.5 meters, 500 inches to me.
You know what? It's insane over there at the moment, isn't it? And they will be skiing in California, in Mammoth. They will be skiing until June and July easily. Yeah. And right now they can ski down to the sort of desert floor. They have been able to this winter all the way down to the desert floor, which is not, is not something they can do every year. But the depths up there, if anyone's seen those pictures coming out of Mammoth and the Tahoe area of people's houses buried. Forget about cars being buried. Their houses have been buried. Like literally, it's just, I've just never seen anything quite like it.
No, it's a few years since I was out in Tahoe, but not that many years, maybe 3 or 4 years. But and I've still got contacts out there and seeing some pictures that they're sending me. It's literally like they've been photoshopped. Chairlifts buried in snow. You couldn't. You can't even sit on that thing because the snow's right over the top of the chairlift. It's incredible. Yeah. So they've had some fantastic conditions, and good conditions persist across Canada as well, with generally good snow conditions dominating right across the country. There has been some more snowfall there, mostly light to moderate showers, but still in good shape across BC over to Quebec. The season still has over a couple of months left to run. The big name resorts like Banff and Whistler, conditions currently looking still good. Obviously, I was out in Banff not long ago. They'll likely be skiing into mid-May. So, as you say, some of these resorts have still got a lot to come. We're talking as if it's not far till it's all over. But actually, if you still fancy some spring skiing, let alone Europe, if you fancy skipping across the pond, there's some great conditions to have. It is quite amazing. So that is my snow roundup. My snow roundup. That is my snow round. Easy for you to say.
New word. I like new words.
my snow roundup for this week.
Like snow. Snow is a good word. It's kind of like snow and now combined together, right? I like that. Snow. It's snowing. That's quite. I'm exhausted after hearing that, Dom, but in a good way. There's a lot of happening. There's a lot of things happening on the weather front. Yeah, it's like I said before, it's not unusual for us to see these sort of big dumps in March and towards the end of the winter. I think it is interesting to see how weather patterns are changing. That's highlighted by the ski racing community that has written to the International Ski Federation, FIS, and FIS, and sort of said to them, hang on a second, you need to rethink the schedule and the calendar for the ski racing season, because we're seeing patterns change, weather patterns change, and things are shifting more towards the later part of the season. So it will be interesting to see, how that shapes up in the next few years, and whether resorts can identify that as well, and maybe stay open a bit later, when there's a load of snow and they shut down. But people need to go there, of course, and I understand that, but it is interesting.
Yeah, of course, it'll turn it all on its head next year when we get massive dumps of snow in December and January, and people will be skiing.
Yes,
and we'll all be looking at each other saying, yes, of course, the weather fronts are changing and things. We'll wait.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. I know.
So, Rob, what else have we got next? We've got some news, our popular news section, Rob. People are saying we need to hear more news because people seem to like these pockets of news. I think it's so that people go to the après bar, stand there with a pint and say, did you know that Snowcamp's prize draw at the moment? I think people like to have that additional information. So what have we got in terms of news for this week, Rob?
Oh, well, funny you mentioned Snowcamp prize draws, Don. We have got a lot to talk about. And with all that snow, we still have a lot of season ahead of us.
Yeah.
So here's some news for everybody. The Snowcamp prize draw. Let's start with that. Because Snowcamp has announced they've been selected as a beneficiary charity to the 2023 Sporting Chance prize draw. And it's Snowcamp's 20th year as well.
Wow. So for those listeners who don't know about Snowcamp, they're one of our charity partners. They're a national youth snow sports charity that focuses on taking less privileged kids off the streets, divert them away from their troubles and focus them on snow sports. And in some case, even turn them into ski instructors. Yep. What epic charity partner. I thought I'd just get that in there, Rob.
Absolutely. Well done, Don. That was good timing. There's a chance to win a selection of prizes, including a ski weekend to Salzburg, the Salzburg area, of course, not the city, I suppose, or St. Moritz, very, very smart. Joining Team GB at the Paris Olympic Games. Wow, that'd be amazing. Front row tickets for world-class sporting events or personal training sessions with elite athletes. Tickets cost £10 each, although that goes down per ticket when you buy more, and every penny goes straight to Snowcamp. And the draw runs from the 1st to the 31st of March, so we're still plenty of time. And winners are going to be drawn randomly by midnight on the 1st of April, 2023, obviously. So check that out at sportingchanceprizedraw.com. And you can go /charity/snow-camp as well. Bit of a mouthful on the URL there, but Sporting Chance Prize Draw Snowcamp, you'll find it.
Definitely worth checking that out for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a few deals around at the moment. I think that's really interesting. I've got an Easter deal here with Inghams. And I think with snow conditions shaping up, some of these deals will be snapped up. But there's still plenty of opportunity out there. And Easter, might very well end up being the prime time for a ski trip this season. I've spotted a few great deals here, and Inghams have got up to £460 per person off a ski trip over the first or second week of April. For example, flying out on April the 8th, there's a 7-night half-board hotel offer. It's now £849 per person, and that includes flights from Gatwick or Manchester. It is a saving of £460 per person. And there's quite a few more of those. They've got offers to Teen, St Anton, Maribel. So high altitude resorts.
Yeah,
you can check them all out at inghams.co.uk.
Wow,
and
that's
great. Yeah, it is.
Especially given the conditions that we're seeing at the minute. So I'll be all over that.
Yeah, some great deals out there. And Inghams also give a snow guarantee as well. So in the very unlikely event, I think it will be very unlikely, there won't be any skiing in those resorts. It's not going to happen, but you'll either get taken to a place where there is more snow or get lift pass refunds. As I said, it's just not going to happen. But anyway, they have got that guarantee in place.
Very good.
Yeah. I like this. This is a nice little story. 97-year-old skier retires, right? And we get these stories sometimes, but 97. I mean, 97, Dom, and still skiing. Amazing. Herb Odell from Massachusetts has finally hung up his skis and boots after more than 90 years of skiing. Wow. He started as a young child in the 1930s. Apparently, he skied at Bradford ski area, not Bradford here in the UK, obviously, it's in Massachusetts, for many years. And a resort spokesperson said, "Congratulations, Herb. It has been a great run." I mean, I'd give that man a medal. I mean, a great run. I mean, that's something that happens in my pants, not after 90 years of bloody skiing. Great run. Sorry about that. That was a bit. There's a great photo of him and his 100-year-old wife. I got to tell you, she looks worried to me. I suppose if he's been hanging out at a ski resort for half a century and now he's loitering around at home, worried wife. Anyway, Herb, you've had your time.
Rob,
Get it?
You must write jokes for Christmas crackers, surely.
Yes, it's about my level, I'm afraid.
Very good.
Another nice story. British school kids lose passport and stay on. I love this. It's a great story. What a shame for a bunch of 42 in total British school kids that their passports mysteriously got shredded in the Loon Mountain, New Hampshire ski resort hotel they were staying in. Mysteriously got shredded.
You've got to be kidding.
42 of them. I'm not suggesting that for 1 second the kids from Barbeacon School in Walsall had anything to do with the shredded passports. Although, who decides to shred 42 perfectly decent British passports from a bunch of guests?
That does sound odd.
Anyway. But it did work out rather well for the kids, who were spotted shopping in New York City following the extra days in the country before the British Embassy could sort it all out.
Can you imagine?
I'd say something loony is happening there. Loony, get it? Loon Mountain,
it's getting
loony.
Worse. It's getting worse. Somebody get me out. That is incredible. I mean, can you imagine those kids? They must have just had the best time, mustn't they? I mean, as if a ski trip out to New Hampshire wasn't good enough, but actually to end up in New York for an extra few days. Brilliant.
It's a great story for the kids back home as well, isn't it? For their school friends.
Can you imagine yours and my kids? They would love that, wouldn't they? They would have loved it.
They would absolutely love it.
What else?
So, well, Loch Insh. Loch Insh Outdoor Centre, close to Aviemore, a place that I used to go to many years ago. It's an artificial ski slope, and it's part of the Loch Insh, Outdoor Centre. It's looking to crowdfund £55,000 to invest in new facilities on the slope and really modernise it all. The centre was founded in the 1960s by Clive Freshwater. He's one of the first members of BASI, and BASI's chairman for a while too. Clive's sons, Andrew and Duncan, were both national team ski racers. Duncan actually was one of my BASI trainers way back too. Really, really nice guys. They were well-known personalities back in the day, in and around Aviemore. Yeah, it's a great place, and they're really working hard to offer some fantastic snow sports facilities for anyone visiting the area. 55,000 is a lot of money. So far, last time I checked, they'd raised over £9,000.
Wow!
And there's a couple of weeks left for the campaign, so they could make that up. And obviously, if you invest, you do get something back for that. It's not just give us some money. So to donate to that, go to crowdfunder.co.uk/P/Loch Insh Dry Slope. Again, I'm sure if you just go to crowdfunder.co.uk, you can find it in that website.
Like it.
So that's nice. This one, another news story, World Telemark Day. I don't think a lot of people knew about World Telemark Day. It's a bit of a niche one, but I think it does deserve some attention.
Yeah.
It took place on the 4th of March, and it celebrates all things telemark, that sort of crazy form of skiing where your heel is free.
Yeah.
it looks fantastic, but trust me, it's technically tricky and physically demanding, which I think it's unfortunately one of its challenges. If you're good enough to telemark, though, in the right conditions, it is absolutely amazing and it's great fun. I would recommend any skier give it a go. I caught up with a good mate of mine, Scott Hammond. He's a Londoner who lives in Norway. He's represented Norway at telemark skiing at the Interski Congress in the past, although now he actually represents Ireland. Anyway, he said, this is his words. Telemark is the original form of gravity-fed skiing and is celebrated by a few extremely enthusiastic weirdos who love their sport and like to make things difficult for themselves. Telemarks don't rent, they buy. Telemarkers are knowledgeable about what they use and are very defensive about their sport and choice of equipment. Telemarkers...
Weirdos.
Yes, that's not my words. Telemarkers speak to other telemarkers in the lift lines. All right, Scott, come on. I mean, come on. We talk to each other as well. Skiers and snowboarders don't, he says. It's a community in sport like no other. That's true. They gather in tribes and are known as freaks, punks, and hippies by the masses, and happily accept this description.
Perfect. I love it.
Now, if that won't put you off telemark skiing, then what will, basically? I do sense a little bit.
I don't think I've ever referred to Scott as a punk, a freak, or a hippie, but certainly not a hippie. Scott's not.
Well, actually, Scott did have long hair for years, and he did. And so I think a punk, a freak, and a hippie, Scott, I think it fits.
Cool.
But I sense a bit of anger from Scott there about the whole telemark thing, and but I think our listeners will get the idea. It's basically a bunch of weird people who actually do speak to each other, doing a sport that not many others can do.
Yeah,
fairly unique.
Fair enough.
World Telemark Day is so badly publicised that I only found out about it after it had actually happened. So next year, I'll try and find out the date a little bit earlier. Thanks, World Telemark Day.
You're not a freak, a punk, or a hippie, though, Rob. I suppose that's the only... is that an upside? I don't know whether that's an upside or not.
I'm offended by that, Dom. I mean, I'd quite like, if I was telemark skiing and I was called a freak, a hippie, and a punk, I'd feel pretty good about myself, I think. But no, you're right. It's probably not really me, is it?
I like it. No, some good news there, Rob. It was good. I like that. I like the World Telemark Day. We'll have to get involved with that next year. Something I've never tried.
Yeah.
Tried telemark.
Okay. I mean, I've done a bit over the years, and I haven't done too much recently because it is physically tricky. And if you're not skiing a lot of the time, like all of the time, it can be quite demanding. I had to pass my Basie second discipline through with telemark skiing because I can't snowboard. So I did telemark skiing as my second discipline, and I scraped through that. I mean, I really scraped through. And actually, thanks to Scott Hammond, who coached me the week before brilliantly to get me to scrape through my second discipline of telemark skiing. I love it, but yeah. And you know what? And I'm sorry, I don't want to ramble, but you know what? Telemark skiing in the right conditions, it does feel, when you get it right, it is very, very special, I must say. It's like floating in the air.
Yeah, it does.
It's like that amazing powder feeling, but you can get that in every single turn. Yeah. It is a magical feeling, and the weightlessness that you get from it, it is really special.
It looks
really special.
It does look it. It does look it. So on from telemark skiing onto our gear section, Rob. What have we got this week? So maybe I'll kick off with bits that I found this week. One of which, the North Face downturn jacket, part of a wider collection from the North Face, designed specifically for ski touring, as it goes, by the North Face. They're really producing some fantastic gear. This collection is based on ultra lightweight layering system with the latest materials, all designed to keep skiers and boarders warm, dry, moving freely, super light, keeping people out in the cold for longer on the slopes. Really, really nice down jacket. There's 50-50 insulation in the Dawn Turn jacket. Pairs a series of ultra cozy synthetic insulation fiber-proof baffles. So they're the little tubes of insulation within the jacket. Highly permeable face fabric to create a groundbreaking breathable insulation layer. So that's super clever stuff. A temperature regulation to keep you warm and dry. Really, really nice, technically very clever stuff. They have this dry vent, which is a trademark dry vent 2.5 layer shell, gives a reliable outlet layer, keeping the snow and wind at bay, whilst the mid layer works to breathe as hard as you do, obviously working together with the elements and your body heat, so making sure that you're able to breathe at the same time as stopping that cold air and the dampness getting in. So very, very clever stuff. I haven't tried out one of those jackets, but I'm about to get my hands on one, but I looked at it and I thought, that is a really nice piece of kit, especially if you're into your ski touring. It's perfect for that.
I haven't seen it, so sounds really interesting.
Really, really nice. Really nice.
Okay.
And then the other thing I looked at, Powersocks Heat Fusion Uni Ski Socks. So these are powered heated ski socks.
Okay.
So they keep your feet warm while skiing with obviously a battery connection. So it's called two S-Pack 1400 batteries that provide up to 16 hours of warmth and fully Bluetooth compatible. So you can be on the lift and think, my feet are getting a bit chilly, whack the temperature up a little bit, or my feet are a little warm now, I can turn them right down. So you can do that all from your phone.
Right.
Super clever, technical, soft, breathable ski socks. And obviously you haven't got any of the sort of mechanics that join to your boot like some other manufacturers where you attach a battery pack and you have to put a footbed in everything else. At least these you could use in your snow boots in the evening and all of that sort of stuff as well. Micro channel construction for moisture evacuation, so they haven't got any of the moisture build up there as well. Very, very neat bits of kit. So you can choose from 3 manual heating levels to suit you, or they pair them with the smartphone using the Thermic app and has a whole range of settings you can use there. So I think there's a lot of people that complain about cold feet. It's often when you hear about, certainly, some of the early stage skiers as well that maybe haven't got the perfect fitted ski boot or aren't wearing the perfect ski sock in the first place, complain of cold feet. It's often a reason that people never even go back to skiing. I don't like getting cold. I don't like the cold hands. I don't like the cold feet.
Sure.
It could be a good solution to that if they make sure they're not doing their boots up too tight or they are doing them up tight enough. So that is all I've got this week. A very nice North Face jacket and a very cool, a very warm pair of ski socks.
I'd like to try those socks. I mean, I can see the moisture, the evacuation of the moisture that you said. That is key, isn't it? Because obviously, if you get sweaty feet and it's very, very cold outside, you're in trouble. If you get any kind of sweat when it's really, really cold, you can get yourself into a bit of trouble, which has happened to me in the past, and I know that's a key thing. So that's really interesting, and I get cold feet, and they sound great. So I'd like to try those. But I've got a little bit of gear to mention as well. Shred, it's the brand co-founded by the US ski racer Ted the Shred Ligety, a nicer bloke you couldn't meet, I must say. Shred Gratify goggles have just been launched. And Ligety is clearly enthusiastic about them. He says, Gratify is a game changer in the ski and snowboard goggle market.
All right. What way? What's he thinking?
Well, so Carlo Salmini, he's the co-founder of Shred and a materials engineer. He said the frameless, sleek design and unique touches of Shred's style, combined with the advanced Shred contrast boosting lens 2.0 and our new no distortion trademark pressure regulation valve technology provides clear vision during altitude change, and the no clog trademark hydrophobic treatment on vents to reduce clogging help prevent fogging.
Easy for you.
In other words, in other words, this is packed with technology that most of us don't understand at all, but we know they'll be great, right?
Yeah,
so
220 quid or something, are they?
Yeah, they do need to be at 220 quid. And they will be available next winter. Check them out at shredoptics.com. I think they'll be available through retailers in the UK as well, but it is something for next winter. They're certainly talking them up, aren't they? But
they need to be good. They need to be good.
A slightly more simple and less pricey device here from Gogglesoc, our friends that make the the brilliant things that fit over the top of ski goggles to stop them getting scratched. But they've just launched a new sunglasses cord to help your sunglasses stay on, called Sunny String. It's a one-size-fits-all, eco-conscious, adjustable eyewear retainer made from recycled materials and designed to be both fashionable and functional. And according to Sunny String, it's the product you can't miss out on, they say. Check them out.
What is it? It's
just, I mean, it's nothing. It's, you know what? It's nothing new. It's just, I think Gogglesoc. It's one of those little things that fits around just to keep. I use them because I wear glasses all the time, and they are brilliant, and they just help your glasses stay on. It's nothing revolutionary, It's not like what Gogglesoc did to goggle protection covers. But anyway, next season, check them out at gogglesoc.com. Again, will be available through retailers. Yeah, and that's sort of it from my gear picks for this week. Apart from the fact that I just wanted to mention, the ski test reviews that we did in La Clusaz at the SIGB on snow test in January are starting to come through, I believe, Dom, on the In the Snow YouTube channel.
What a great team we had. I mean, you were the elder statesman there, weren't you, Rob?
The elder. I'm not sure about statesman. No, thanks. No, kind of the statesman, maybe. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a great team this year, Dom. Emily Sarsfield, obviously Olympic skier. Max Vorton, British team ski member. Elise Burff and Rachel Little, both World Free Tour riders, World Free World Tour skiers.
Fantastic.
And Finn Carmichael, just a really, really sort of young ripper in the park and off piste and everywhere, really. So some real quality.
Some of the videos there are absolutely fantastic. And I saw you skied with Glenn Plake again, of course, which was epic to see him doing his ski ballet, which was very good fun.
Yeah, we had a whole morning with Glenn. I mean, how absolutely epic was that? And what a guy. It was quite funny. He couldn't keep up with our youngsters, though. Although neither could I, to be fair. And but yeah, he's a lot of fun to ski with, and he loves his little trick skiing and his ballet skiing, and he's absolutely brilliant at that. He's a master of it, a master.
Well worth. I'd recommend our listeners head over to the YouTube channel In the Snow, or In the Snow Mag, I think, where we've got a lot of our videos. But you should see the little run-in where you see Glenn Plate on the intro of the videos. You see him doing a little bit of his snow ballet, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's such good fun. He's such a character. I love him. Brilliant.
He is.
Good stuff then, Rob. Some good gear there. We always love our gear roundups, that's for sure. And those ski tests are looking fantastic on the YouTube channel. So as I say, I encourage people to go across and listen to those. And next on our agenda, we have our top drops of resorts. So it's our resort spotlight. Resorts beginning with the letter G. What have we got, Rob? What were the choices we could have had? Le Gras?
There's loads of choice, isn't there?
There is loads. Gressony. What else have we got?
Stard.
Yeah.
But yeah. Or even Glencoe, J-Lo in Norway.
Yeah, J-Lo in Norway. Yes, I've forgotten about J-Lo in Norway. Well, what have I chosen? I have chosen Grimentz. May not have been something that sprung straight to people's minds. Grimentz in Switzerland. What about you, Rob? What have you got?
Yeah, Grindelwald. And, I know it pretty well. I've been going to Grindelwald for years. I've taught a bit of skiing over the years there. It's definitely one of my favourites.
Very good. And have you been to Grimentz? Do you know Grimentz?
You know what? I've never been there, and it's ridiculous because
I've been waiting for this time. You've not been, sir. I can't believe
I can't believe that I've never been to Grimentz.
So pleased that I know about somewhere that you don't know about. You've got no. I'm so excited. Right, I'm going to beat you. So, Rob, let me get clear in my mind. Grindelwald. I do know where it is because I've been through, but for our listeners' sake, and maybe to remind me as well, where exactly is Grindelwald?
Yeah, so Grindelwald is in the Jungfrau region of Switzerland. It's an area that includes the town of Interlaken and other ski resorts of Wengen and also Mürren. It's in the canton of Bern, or Bernese Oberland. So very, very central Switzerland.
Oh, right. Okay, good. And the easiest way to get there, I guess we're talking Zurich, are we?
Yep. Zurich Airport is the easiest entry airport. There's a direct train from the airport now to Interlaken.
Oh.
And then you just jump on a shorter train journey up to Grindelwald itself. And that takes approximately 2 to 3 hours, depending on the connection. So it's slightly longer from Geneva Airport, but it's also possible to get to Interlaken with one change, normally at Bern.
What's the drive time then? What's the drive time from Zurich to Grindelwald?
It's a few. It's about 2.5 to 3 hours, I'd say.
Okay. So the train's pretty compelling then, isn't it?
From the airport, the train's great. It's absolutely fantastic way to get to Grindelwald. It's so nice. It's so easy. It works. You can drive there as well. Grindelwald isn't a car-free village like its neighbour Wengen or Mürren. So you can drive all the way into Grindelwald, but still, I'd go by. I normally take the train.
And it's a proper pretty little hotspot, isn't it? I mean, it's a really good looking village.
Oh yeah, the village is so pretty and the scenery is dramatic, dominated by the Jungfrau, the Eiger and the Monk mountains. They tower over the village, like sentinels. The railway station sort of cuts straight into the town itself. And then from there, the main street heads upwards. There's a number of hotels and restaurants, a few bars as well. It's not a massive après ski resort, I must say. There's a couple of bars in the centre that always seem lively at night to me. The restaurants are often in the hotels. Barry's, just pick that one out as being one of my favourites. But there's also lots of international cuisine around as well. There's a lot of international visitors. There's tons to do for non-skiers, winter hiking, adventure activities on the mountain called First Mountain.
Nice.
Zip lines and that kind of thing. Journey up to the Jungfrau top of Europe, the highest railway station in Europe. It's pretty incredible up there, and the train cuts directly through the Eiger mountain itself. Amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Do you know what? I've not been out to that area to ski, so I know. What is the skiing like? Tell me.
Dom, right? It's got to be top of our priority list together now to go skiing there, right?
Well, we know some people out there.
Yeah, we do indeed. The skiing suits. I'd say it suits all ability levels. Especially intermediates. Yeah. But there's a new Eiger. They call it the Eiger Terminal. It's almost like an airport terminal. It's a big building, and it houses the Eiger Express ski lift, a new lift. It's hugely transformed the access to the skiing area. It cuts out the need to take a sort of slow train, which was nice, but slow, or an old gondola up from Grindelwald. Mm-hmm. The area is directly linked with Wengen, so you can get to ski classic runs such as the Laberhorn. That's used for the longest World Cup downhill race of the season during January. Yeah. Any good intermediate skier could get down that run though. Okay. There's also a separate skiing area called First, which is mostly south facing. It's where the snow park is as well. And you can actually get over to Mürren on the same lift pass, which is definitely worth doing if you're there for a week.
Okay.
The piste skiing here, it's some of the best. There's some decent off-piste in good snow conditions as well, especially off the Eiger north side, which you can access via a chairlift. I wouldn't say it's an obvious destination for off-piste adventurers, but the history here, the scenery, the trains that still run up and down the mountain, it just all combines to make a really, really special area.
It's nice. And what about accommodation? What's the accommodation like? I mean, is it your typical expensive Swiss accommodation like we've come to expect or not?
I'd honestly say that region of Switzerland seems to be a bit softer on pricing than some other regions of Switzerland.
Okay.
Generally, I'm not, I mean, Grindelwald is definitely dominated by hotel accommodation. There's some really nice sort of 4-star hotels like the Sun Star and the Eiger in the middle of town. There is some great budget accommodation there too, including the Eiger Lodge and a very nice Swiss youth hostel. They do feel the prices do feel a little bit softer. It's often busier in summer actually than in the winter. It's a very popular summer resort. So the sort of lower season weeks in winter can be good value. Yep. There are chalets there as well, chalet accommodation. They're mostly privately run. And the UK tour operators tend to use the hotels now. But they're
Okay.
very, very good.
So it's quite a cozy sort of getaway resort. Is it a family place? Is it any good for family skiers?
Definitely, it's a great resort for families.
Okay.
I mean, kids love the trains. There's lots of sort of little hot chocolate stops dotted around the mountain as well. And I'd say it's a great place, nice place for couples looking for a bit of a romantic getaway. It's got a bit of charm about the place. Non-skiers have loads of options, as I've said. Interlaken's just down the road. Bern even is obviously capital city of Switzerland. It's easily reached in a day by train as well.
Okay.
And then sort of keen skiers of all ability levels, there really is something for everyone. It's the kind of place that has a scope for a proper luxury holiday experience as well, all the way to something a bit more on a budget, relatively, in Switzerland.
You've sold it well, Rob. You've sold it well.
Wow.
You should get a job with the tourist board.
Yes, that's a great idea. I love that.
So, Grimentz. So, for our listeners, location-wise, Grimentz is just north of Zermatt, so it's near Sion-Sierre, about 2 hours from Geneva, because obviously you need to go around the lake and through Lausanne and all that to get there from Geneva. But it's probably the closest. But in terms of driving, it's not too bad either. I mean, I've driven down there 9 hours from Calais. It's not too bad to get there. So, as the crow flies, it lies between Verbier and Zermatt, deep in the Swiss Alps, and it's very much an untouched gem.
I mean, it's quite a small resort, right? And kind of scenic, I guess. That's how I see it.
Yeah, it's scenic in bucket loads. It's picture postcard, Swiss mountain village. It is small. It is smaller than the likes of Grindelwald. It's mainly made up of little traditional mazos, century-old chalets, little tiny sort of wooden buildings, a few 2- and 3-star hotels. You haven't got bundles of no real nightlife going on, and you haven't got loads of après, but you have got places you can sit and have a few beers in the evening, little local beers, and lovely little old wooden wine shops, and so it's that very, very quaint old, but quite sedate and quite quiet, but it is very, very, very pretty indeed.
Sounds really nice. You've skied the place, Dom. So what is the skiing like?
It is a while away since I've skied there, but the skiing, especially if you're into off-piste, is pretty damn good. The top station is just under 3,000 meters, and I know we'll go into our numbers in a minute. There's about 1,400 meters of vertical. There's plenty of everything. Wow. The north and east facing slopes keep their snow in very good condition. Backcountry terrain hardly ever gets tracked out, so you can just keep on going up and down all day long with fresh tracks every time. So it is pretty special on that front. And thanks to the high altitude lake above the village, it's got an unlimited and high pressure water supply system, which is great. It means the village has been able to install fantastic snowmaking in the event that they need it, and it keeps the lower slopes in great condition throughout the season. So yeah, very, very good snow record. The piste terrain in each resort maybe isn't as abundant, so you're not looking at hundreds of kilometers of piste, but the link established between Grimentz and Zinal, which actually got established just after I was there, which I know is now quite a few years. Wow. But the two resorts can boast up to about 120 kilometers of piste. So yeah, it's they have got enough. But if you want motorways of piste, it's not your place. But if you just want that chocolate box feel and be away from the hubbub, it is fab. And I have to say that when I arrived there, I was a bit, what are we going to do?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
By the time you're leaving, you just kind of don't want to leave. So yeah, it's pretty special. It's pretty special.
It does sound great. And I'll be honest, it sounds right up my street. And you've mentioned a bit about the accommodation, but is that a bit limited because of the size of the place itself?
Not really. I mean, there are only a few sort of 2- and 3-star hotels, and there's a bunch of chalets. There's quite a lot of chalets there to rent directly from both chalet owners and through little agents and tour operators. So there is plenty of accommodation, but you're not going to find at the moment, who knows what might happen, but I know they're very strict on planning regulations there, but there are none of your big 5-star hotels or high-rise buildings or anything like that, which, is the whole point. This is, you've got to think of this as a real hidden gem, and the skiing is great and the snow record's great, and that's the way you have to think of it.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like it's kind of an ideal resort for a bit of a cozy getaway as well.
Yeah, it is. Again, along the lines of Grindelwald, but I don't think as big. It's just that lovely village feel, very friendly locals, ideal for that sort of relaxed skiing. You're not going to get lift queues. It has got a nice mountain crèche that takes kids from about 18 months old. So if a couple want to get away for their first ski trip with a baby and they want the baby to be looked after while they go and get a few hours skiing, super good for that as well, because it's quiet, rest and relaxation. You're not going to get the bundles of people. So yeah, it can work for all sorts, really. Romantic getaway, perfect for that. When I went, I had a chalet of 10 of us, and we had a lot of laughs there, and it was very good fun. We went with Mountain Heaven at the time, so it is a few years now. But it was fantastic. So yeah, I'd highly recommend Grimentz if you know what you're going for, So
yeah, for sure.
Of course, it is all in the stats, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah. But I love the sound of it. And it sounds like we've got two very, very special ski resorts here. So the stats, as usual, will define the winners and losers. But, as we know, Dom, it's not all about the numbers. But let's have a look at them anyway.
What's your resort level?
So Grindelwald is just over 1,000 meters in the village.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm at 1550.
Okay. All right.
A little bit higher and maybe reflected by a snow record as well. So what about your highest point?
Highest point in the ski area of the Jungfrau region, if you look at that, is actually 2,970 meters, so just short of 3,000 meters. But that's if you include the Schilthorn in Murren, which is significantly higher than most of the other skiing area. So in the direct sort of Grindelwald-Wengen sector, the highest point is 2,230 meters.
Very good. Well, still a decent height. We're just shy of 3,000 meters. So
okay.
So,
that's good. Kind of even there.
Yeah, we are right there. And what about kilometers apiece?
Well, Dom, I've got 211 kilometers in total for the area. I guess I'm on top of that, aren't I? I guess I've got you on that one, haven't I?
you are, unless I take into account the connected areas. So I'm 220 if I take into account those connected areas. And I think it's about 50 or 60 that actually is designated as Grimentz area. So a smaller area, but obviously it's got the linked area, which is great. So yeah, there is.
That's 220 linked lift area, is it? So it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So ski lifts, I've got 42 in that area.
21 for me. So 21. You definitely got me there.
Okay. All right.
So what about our scores out of 10? What would you give your resort out of 10 for a beginner skier? So what would you give your resort for a beginner score out of 10, Rob?
For Grindelwald, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay. Minus 6.
What about you?
Probably more suited to somebody who's a bit more experienced and enjoys a bit of free ride skiing as well. And what about for families?
Well, families, I've given it an 8. It's just one of those family destinations, really.
Yeah. I've gone for a 6/7. I think I've been a bit harsh with the 6, but it could well hit a 7. It's okay, but I mean, there's not loads to do around the town, so it's probably not ideal for proper family skiing. Free riding experts, however, I gave it an 8. How about yourself?
Well, I've given an 8 as well, but I think I might, if you compare the free ride terrain of Grimentz, and I know its reputation, and obviously what you've just told me as well, it sounds like it's a bit unfair. And I've given it an 8 because there is some great free ride terrain there, but it's not always that accessible. So I'd probably be happily downgrade to a 7 to your 8. I'd say, Don. Should I do that?
No,
sounds like I'm losing confidence in the free ride side, but I'm just there is some good free ride terrain, but it's not the resort for. I just don't. It isn't a resort that you would go to say we're doing a big off piste week, unless you're touring. There's amazing touring there, but that's a different thing altogether.
And accommodation wise, what about accommodation?
Well, I've given it a 7, and I think there is, and actually, I think I've been being a bit harsh. If anything, there's some fantastic accommodation there.
Cool. I've gone for a 6 because there is a little less accommodation. You're fairly restricted in terms of tier 3-star hotels and chalets, but still great. And food and drink, I've gone for an 8 because there is some really nice foodie options there. So when you do it out, it's great food. That could be a little on the generous side. Maybe a 7 would be a bit more befitting. How about you on the food and drink?
I've given it a 7, and it sounds harsh because there is such a good choice of food, especially if you go down into Interlaken. And the only reason I've given the food and drink a 7 is because a lot of the restaurants maybe are tucked away in hotels and things like that, rather than being obviously sort of open on the street.
We should probably swap our stores there. I think I should be a 7. You should probably be an 8 on that.
I was maybe being a bit harsh. There's great options for food.
And après ski.
Well, I've given it a 6. It's not a massive après ski resort, to be fair.
I think I'm going to go probably lower than that. I think I'm a 4 or a 5. Nothing wrong with it. You can get a few beers, but there's not going to be any pumping music anywhere.
No,
so
sure.
I'm at around about a 38, 39, 40, somewhere in that region. I think.
Okay. I'm around about 42, 43, somewhere in that region.
Very good.
So,
actually quite two similar resorts in terms of the fact that they are that more sort of chocolate box style resorts. And it's nice having somewhere a bit different like that. Not just your big motorway mile ski, ski resorts. It's quite nice to see somewhere a bit different.
Look, two great ski resorts, and I guess they're a bit different. Grimentz is on my list, though. Grimentz is on my list. You've sold it to me. You've really sold it to me, Dom.
So, Rob, that's everything for this week. What have we got coming up? I know you're going to tell us a bit about New Zealand next time we meet up, which will be in a week or two's time. And I am due out in Colorado at the end of this month, which is just about 10 or 12 days away. So,
fantastic.
Vail and Beaver Creek and Winter Park and Aspen. I think we're going to pop into Aspen. And A Basin. So got a pretty cool trip coming up there. Have you got anywhere exciting on the go?
Goodness.
Nowhere near as exciting, of course.
Well, not quite. It depends. It's exciting to go to Colorado, isn't it? I'm excited. I'm taking the train to Interlaken actually next week from London. I'm getting on a train and all the way to Interlaken on the train. So that's going to be fun. And then after that, I'm heading to Avoriaz for a few days. So that's sort of next week. And then I've got
to catch some of that spring skiing powder that they've had delivered, which is perfect timing for you. You must have ordered that.
Hoping. Yeah, definitely.
Well, have a great time out in Interlaken. Say hello to Remo for me. Safe travel. And hopefully I will speak to you before we head out to Colorado.
Yeah, you too, Dom.
Have a good time.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
I'm pretty sure it's called a walkie-talkie, mate.